Well, let's start from CETAG because this afternoon government has launched an appeal to striking colleges of education teachers to call off their strike and return to the classroom as the strike enters its 64th day today. The students are beginning to take their destinies into their own hands as lose hope of any resolution of this matter in the semester. Many have left for home while the few remaining on the campuses are demanding closure to ease the burden on rent, feeding and other costs. They say the long period of the strike has distracted their academic activities and affected their finances, leading to majority of their colleagues going home.
After more than 60 days since CETAG members embarked on a strike to demand better working conditions, students at the colleges of education across the country want the schools to shut down completely. Here at the Accra College of Education, students in levels 100, 200 and 300 says it is about time the schools shut down because they have wasted productive days on campus with no teaching or learning.
Well, we are around because we hope that the lecturers will come back, but then if at this point they haven't returned, then I think we would want to go. Well, our parents mostly believe that when we're on campus, we study, so they actually put in efforts to help us sustain ourselves on campus.
Well, we've been on campus for a couple of months now, and then there are no lectures going on. It's quite unbearable. Though we do personal studies, but it is better with a lecturer taking you through what exactly he wants you to attain for the semester than you doing your personal studies, and then by the end you wouldn't have attained what you are supposed to. So it is better the lecturers are around than we are on campus, but if they are not coming, then I think it's better we go home. It is personal studies that we are doing actually as of now, because we can't, at first we were assuming in a few weeks they will be coming, so we had put in so much effort that when they come, we take up from where we have ended personally. But now it seems they are not coming. So even going for personal studies is becoming quite difficult because you have no hope of they coming at the moment.
Whatever the teacher says, it gets to my head and sticks. But because there's strike, there's nothing like that. Provisions are getting finished. Sometimes dining is not even enough for us. You have to go get food and other staffs. So it's best if they shut down the school so everyone can go home.
But not all the students want it to be shut down.
Personally, I don't like the idea because I'm 11,400 and then the academic calendar was slated to have ended in September 7th, of which we prepared for that. So now going home and coming back means the plans we've had earlier, we have to reconsider it. So personally, I don't want the school to shut down. We want our teachers back.
From the Accra College of Education, Kenneth Jesse for Joy News.
And Kenneth Jesse, who was at the Accra College of Education interacting with students this morning, joins me in studio with more. So Ken, let's look at life on campus in these times.
Life on campus looks like a lonely place. The place looks deserted. I mean, compared to the last time I was there, for instance, you could walk a few meters and meet about 2 or 3 students gathered in groups, chatting, some of them also learning. But this time around, you get there, you see nobody. I had to, go to the SRC office to try and mobilize students for me. So they tell me that more than 60% of the student population have since left school for their various destinations because they do not know when the strike is going to be called off because it's been about 64 days since, this strike happened, and, they've had issues with feeding themselves, although food is provided for them by the school, but that seemed not to be enough. And because the academic calendar has stretched for a longer time, they do not know when they are returning. So most of them have also rented. They've had to renew their rents and all that. So these challenges, they're having financial difficulties in terms of academics. They don't know their left and right. And even some of them say that it's taking a psychological toll on them, especially the final year students who are to complete school. And the academic calendar, mind you, ends in September, and we're a few days away from that.
And it's on 7th of September.
The strike is still on, so it's a very difficult situation on campus.
But we understand the schools feed the students. Is that not the case? Has it changed?
Yes, they feed the students, of course, but it's obviously not going to be something that will be to your satisfaction, and there's nothing like you choosing what you want to eat. I mean, because there are even some of the students who do not like certain types of foods. So if, for example, I don't like beans or something and it's served, I can't depend on it. So although the school feeds them, but it's not enough to keep them going. So they have to support themselves with some, pocket monies that have been given to them by the parents, and those who work, on their own to have to, shelve out those monies to feed themselves on campus and try to balance situations on campus. So it's a very tough one.
So for now, the call by the student is that the schools be suspended?
Yes, they have called for a suspension. They had been deliberating for a while. The last time, for instance, that I went there, they were calling that, the teachers should come back to the classroom and then, start teaching them so that even the time lost, they make up for it. But now it appears that those in level 100, 200, and 300 are saying, look, we appear to be tired of, staying here, not knowing what's going to happen tomorrow, because they've built up their hopes for a long time and nothing seems to be happening. So now they've given up. But the final year students are saying that if we call for a shutdown of the schools, we are going to be the most affected because they are supposed to complete school before the end of this year. And now we are entering the last month that they are supposed to, have wrapped up academic activities, trying to get into their final gear before they leave. And now they don't know what is going to happen. So they fear that if the schools are shut down ultimately, they are going to be affected the most, because that means their graduation is going to drag probably into next year.
Which means that they probably would want an option.
Yeah.
Maybe the rest of the years could go, but for the finalists, they could probably remain.
Well, for them, they are of the view that they are hopeful, at least. I mean, they are building up their hope that they are hopeful that any moment from now, the teachers could return. And even if they return, and it's going to be extra classes so that they can absorb or make up for time lost, they wouldn't mind. But as it stands now, they are not in favor of the closure of the schools.
Okay. But you were at an event where the Deputy Minister of Education, Reverend Tim, has been speaking.
Yes,
I
was at the launch of the National Teacher Prize, where the Deputy Minister, Reverend Tim Fojo, was there. And I posed the question to him that, I mean, this is what the students are saying. Is he in support of the students closing down the school? And then he told me that the government is still negotiating with the teachers and appealing to them to return to the classroom, and has made a passionate appeal to both students to be patient with them because they're still talking to their teachers. And has also told the teachers that, look, we are also pleading with you, although we are negotiating with you, but please, for the sake of the kids, kindly return back to the classroom. But he's given assurance that they hope that the negotiations that they are having with the teachers will yield to a better result.
Okay, so let's take a listen to that interaction between the Deputy Minister and my colleague Ken.
Whatever that needs to be done to resolve the strike situation with CETAG members is underway. In fact, members of CETAG are some of the very important stakeholders we have in our education system. They are the ones who train our teachers, and therefore they play a key role. We accord them utmost importance, and so we don't treat their matters lightly at all. We've had series of engagements. The strike has been protracted. However, we shall not relent in engaging the leadership of CETAG further until a resolution is reached. A resolution that will be acceptable to both parties and make them happy to come back to the classroom. But we are appealing. We will continue to appeal to CETAG members to come back to the classroom and offer their services. Their services are most essential. So we appeal with them. The ones we engage in them, they must return. We have further engaged Prinkov, and they have indicated their commitment to ensuring that any distortions that may have occasioned in the academic calendar, they would partner us, and we're going to together find a way to straighten things up. And so we appeal to members of CETAG and the leadership of CETAG that their concerns, we are discussions with their leadership. They should come back and certainly an amicable resolution will be reached.
So while you are talking to them to come back, like I'm saying, time is not on our side as well, because just September 7th, academic activities are coming to an end without anything taking place. Are the students right to call for a shutdown of the schools?
I will appeal to the students to exercise restraint. We've engaged them till now and we'll continue to engage them together with the members of CETAG. There will definitely be a resolution.
Before the end of the academic term?
There will definitely be a resolution for learning to continue.
Are there any timelines?
I will not be able to provide any timelines at the moment, but what I can firmly assure you is that discussions are underway, and in due course, there will be a resolution of the impasse.
Well, joining us now on the line is Fidelis May, who speaks for CETAG. Fidelis, I'm grateful to you for joining. Now, you've had a plea there by the Deputy Minister calling on you to call off the strike and return to the classroom because of the kids. And they, as government, are doing everything they can to ensure that your concerns are addressed. What do you say to that? All right, so we'll try and get Fidelis May to understand what CETAG do make of the Deputy Minister's call that government is now pleading with them to call off the strike because of the impact that this strike is having on the students. You heard there some of the students talking about how the challenges they're going through in terms of accommodation, in terms of feeding, and even the final year student, how this is affecting the completion period for them as finalists. We'll try and get Kamayi to really understand what CETAG do make of this. This is the 64th day since the strike commenced, and the number of days left for the student to stay on campus is a little under a month. I mean, we understand that the schools have to close down on the 7th of September. We're just barely under 30 days there, but Kamayi is with me. Kamayi, grateful for joining. I want to understand from you. You had there the Deputy Minister saying that government is pleading with you to call off the strike so that there can be an amicable settlement of the issues between the two of you. What do you make of the plea by government?
Thank you, and good afternoon to you and your Charles viewers. We have heard the plea by the Deputy Minister for Education. You see, the thing is this. As I heard him speak, he was saying that we are an essential teacher training, teachers in the education field, and they want to resolve our issues amicably. But their actions and inactions does not support what he's saying. We have been on strike for God knows the number of days now, and when we go for negotiations, sometimes the comments that they make and the things they do does not suggest that they are really ready to ensure that we go back to school.
Why do you say their comment do not suggest? I mean, what kind of posture do they give you when they meet you? And because what we're seeing now looks like a government that is saying that, well, I think that I can do something about it, so just call off the strike.
Okay, so there is an issue in dispute. We are trying to resolve it. We go for meetings, there are no clear-cut solutions. Then in the midst of all these things, you tell us that your July salary has been frozen because you did not go to work. Does this suggest that they want us to really go back to work? It doesn't suggest so. So you have the power to ensure that the solution is brought to bear. But instead for you to attempt to solve it, you are now pleading. What will plea do to us? Because last year in August, this same plea came and we called off our strike, having our hope in you that you were going to resolve the issues. Up until now, they didn't do anything until we started this strike. And some of the things that they say on the media suggest that they are doing something. Behind the scenes, you go and then it's not.
Kamayi, do I still have you with me?
Yes, I am here.
Great. Now, if looking at your concerns, last time we're told that government has started addressing some of the concerns you had. Why still be on strike when government has really shown that, well, I mean, I want to help out in this situation?
The most important ones that we expect them to handle are not the ones they are tackling. Okay. For example, we're talking about the migration. That one, there was an issue with what their position was and what the arbitral award was saying. Okay, so that is the most critical one we want them to look at. But they are looking at the very, very simple, smallest ones, which does not even cost a thing to do.
Okay, but when it comes to the migration, we're having a chat with the president of Prinkov, who indicated that in fact they've started with colleges that are affiliated to the University of Cape Coast, and he even said this is something that you could cross-check as well for yourselves.
At the last meeting with the Minister of Education, he constituted a committee that was called the monitoring team. What that team was supposed to do was that every week when the team, the technical people, migrate people onto the structure, then that team will now look at the work that has been done, and if there are challenges and issues, resolve them. We are in about the third or the fourth week since they told us that they had started work. We have not had any evidence to suggest that indeed they are doing the migration. Sometimes they tell us they are doing this, you do your cross-check at the background and you realize that what they are saying is not exactly what is happening.
Okay. So you are telling us today that indeed this migration that we were told is happening it has not begun at all. Hello, Kamai. All right. We'll try and get him. But let's go to Parliament now and bring in the ranking on the Education Committee, Peter Notu-Kotwe, who has joined us now. I'm grateful to you, sir, for joining. Now, this is getting out of hand. 64 days without the teachers on the campuses of these colleges. What should we do now? What's the position by the committee in Parliament?
Yeah, thank you very much. The position of the committee is that government, as a matter of urgency, should pay the arbitration award that was awarded to CETAG members far back last year. That should be the beginning point. Parliament, we met the ministers for education and employment and asked them, I told them to go and then sit down with CETAG, draw a roadmap, and pay the awards. Then the other part of it, the allowances, arrears, they should pay those things so that they can go back to the lecture hall. That is about a month now. And the Minister of Education has not taken any steps to make sure that the allowances, the arrears of the allowances, and the arbitration awards are paid to them. And as a committee, we are finding it very difficult to have that moral courage again to talk to them that go back to the classroom as we did last year and they listen to us. So our position is pay them what is due them now and then let them go back. The migration can be discussed, can be taken care of after they have gone back to the classroom. So that is our position. But we are thinking of meeting them again next week, both the CETAG and the Minister of Education, and then see if the Minister of Education and the Minister of Finance can release money for them to be paid.
I'm aware the other time when you invited the Education Minister, I mean, something also came up. How are you sure that this time around he will be available to ensure that the issues are addressed?
Well, we will continue to make sure that we meet them and then talk to both sides. But the most important thing is that the solution to this problem now lies in the hands of government. Government should just make sure that at least start the payment, and I'm sure they will go back to the classroom. We are worried about the students that for over a month now, they've opened and no lectures are ongoing. In fact, the timetable will have to be readjusted, and that is going to affect the calendar for colleges of education again. And we don't want such a thing to continue.
Well, it's less than a month to the closure of schools, because they are supposed to go down on somewhere around the 7th of September. If you look at the days remaining for the schools to go down, is it right for schools to still remain reopened? Shouldn't the schools be closed down as the students are calling for?
Yeah, the biggest challenge is that the closure of colleges is not in the hands of the principals of the colleges. Unlike the universities where they have that authority or power, that 21 days after a strike action, you can close down the university. They don't have that power. It's only the Minister for Education through GTEC that can give that order. So until that is done, and I don't think the minister will have that moral courage to close down the colleges of education, because he will feel that it is bad. But we think that a solution to the matter is pay them what is due them. Then the matter will be over.
But we don't know whether government is willing to pay the monies now. The students say they are going through difficulties in terms of feeding, accommodation, and taking care of themselves on these campuses. Should we continue to watch on whilst these students suffer? Is it not time that we take a decision in the interest of the student to say, let's close down? When we resolve the issue, they can come back.
Well, as I said, no other person has that power to close down the school than the minister himself. And if he doesn't want to do so, he should put pressure on the Minister for Finance as well as the government to make some commitment, pay them the arbitration award, and then the others, you can take care of them from time to time. But if you are failing to do any of them, I don't think there is any solution to the matter now. The solution lies in the hand of the Minister for Education, the Minister for Finance, and government itself. So my appeal to them is that they should take the necessary steps to pay them, because it's a legitimate award and they must be given. So pay to them, and then the matter is finished.
Peter Nochikoto, I'm grateful to you for your time here on The Pulse on the Joy News channel. Well, away from that, this afternoon, if you have defaulted in paying your student's loan, then take note that your action has dire future repercussions on your credit worthiness. This is because the Student Loan Trust Fund has taken steps to synchronize its data with the Credit Scoring Bureau for financial reference and for individual credit rating. Employers have also been urged to comply with the legal obligations of ensuring that their employees who are beneficiaries repay their loans or risk legal action ahead of repayment and resource mobilization at the Student Loan Trust Fund. Rosemary I spoke to my colleague Samuel Mbura in this interview.
Let me put it this way. One of the provisions in the Student Loan Act enjoins the fund to provide the information of defaulters to Credit Reference Bureau. What this means is that if you're defaulting on your student loan, you are going to get poor credit scores, which has a potential of affecting your credit facilities with other institutions. So the Act has adequately catered for the needs of the fund as far as recovery is concerned. We do not want students to think that by publishing or sending their names to Credit Reference Bureau, it is a disadvantage. Not necessarily. The Credit Reference Bureau also enables you to build good credit. The fund, student loan itself, is an opportunity for you to access loan and become credit worthy. It is not every institution that gives loan without collateral. But with a student loan, you get a loan without collateral. So it is actually a plus to take a student loan and to pay your loan regularly so that you have a good credit score that will translate into, if you want to access a bank loan, a car loan, a mortgage facility, then you already have established a good credit score for yourself. So the Credit Reference Bureau in itself is not a disadvantage at all. But for those who refuse to pay, those who fail to pay, those who want to take advantage of the system, then the Credit Reference Bureau will come to bite them.
All right, Madam, let's stay on the credit scoring bit, because we know that The Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, has been talking about it. He says when he comes, he wants to implement it in full swing. Will the implementation of that really facilitate your work here at the Secretariat?
Definitely, definitely. When the Credit Reference Bureau activities are strengthened and it begins to do its job fully as it is intended, of course, we will get a lot more people paying back their loans.
So my understanding is that if you are a beneficiary of the Student Loan Trust Fund and you are not owing, and think that for now they are not able to praise you, in future it can affect your credibility.
Definitely, definitely. And so it is in your interest to actually pay and start paying. The good thing about student loan is that you don't need a lump sum, big chunk of money to pay your loan. With as little as 100 cedis, 150 cedis a month, 200 cedis a month, you can consistently be paying your loan and be building a good credit score. And so there are some misconceptions out there with students. Some will tell you, I do not work and so I cannot pay my loan. But when you look at the phone credit consumption of people who claim that they do not work, it sometimes it goes beyond 200 cedis a month. So seriously speaking, if you want to pay your loans, we believe that you can. It is just, positioning yourself mentally and being a good citizen and paying off your loan.
So, what is the current situation on the application for student loan? Is it increasing? Are we witnessing a decrease in the application for the student loan?
Applications definitely have soared, especially with the introduction of the no guarantor policy. Now that there are no guarantors, a lot more students are needing the student loan, are applying for the student's loan. And this is putting a heavy weight on the fund to be able to disburse to all of these students. More reason why we're calling on every borrower who has ever accessed the loan to pay back so that we can disburse to the future generation and give someone opportunity to also acquire a tertiary education.
Now you have declared the month of August as a month of recovery. Tell us, what do you intend to do within this period to get your
One
money
of it
retrieved?
is this media engagement, educating employers, letting employers, be they informal sector or informal sector, know their obligation under the Student Loan Trust Fund Act. Some pushbacks that we get from employers that we want to address here is that, I need a consent of my staff before I pay the loan. It is inaccurate. You do not need the consent of your staff to deduct and pay to student loan. Why would I say that? First of all, the student loan agreement has a portion that the students signed declaring that when they acquired work, when they start to work, they would inform their employers to deduct and pay to us. So from the point of view of the borrower, this obligation needs to be met. Secondly, the Act Section 24 also puts the obligation on the employer to inquire from the borrower, from the newly recruited staff. And so when these two obligations are met by the borrower and the employer, the issue of consent is resolved. So consent is not needed. Yes, we have employers who will quote the Labor Act, that the Labor Act requires consent. The same Labor Act that requires consent also makes exception for legitimate loans or deductions like the student loan. And so the issue of needing consent before deducting is completely solved under Labor Act and under the Student Loan Trust Fund Act. And so we want to encourage employers not to be afraid to deduct, but to educate their staff and get them to understand why deductions need to be done from source and pay to us. We have employers who take a position of encouraging borrowers to pay, taking undertaking from them to pay. That is not the position of our Act. Our Act says that employer deduct and pay to us. So we do not want to be pushing, having this pushback from employers on we don't want to deduct. We have taken a promise from them. The law says that deduct and pay to the student loan.
Before we end this interview, you earlier mentioned that employers are binded legally to cross-check, double-check their employees as to whether they are enrolled or they are beneficiaries of the student loan trust fund or not. So at least they can, get their loans deducted as source. Can they be held culpable per the law if any employer, be it in the private sector or in the public sector, fails to comply
Definitely
with this particular
once it is
provision?
a law, if you do not do it, it means that you are breaching. And yes, so you are culpable. And as we speak, we actually have some employers that we have moved up the notch with their non-compliance. We have very flexible engagement.
You say you moved up the notch. What exactly do you mean? Are you legally taking them on? Are they in court or prosecution? What exactly do you mean?
Yes, we've moved up the notch because yes, after all the engagement and interactions where they fail to comply, then we bring in the police, which is part of the legal compliance process. So yes, we have some employers that are responding to invitations from the forensics unit of the Ghana Police Service in respect of student loan non-compliance. Yes, we would want to add again that in the Act there is a senior loan provision. The senior loan provision makes student loan the most senior loan apart from statutory deductions. And so any borrower or any staff, any person who takes a loan, the student loan needs to be deducted after the SNET deductions and after PAYE and any other statutory. Student loan is the next one that employers need to deduct and pay to us. So if you're an employer out there, this is an education for you. Please take student loan deduction seriously. Help us to make the student loan fund a sustainable fund.
All right, so that's it. If you've not paid your student loan, please be worried that this will go against you, and take the necessary steps to address it. We'll take a quick break, but still to come here, we'll tell you why families who have dead bodies at the Kolebu mortuary are taking away their dead relatives because the bodies have started decomposing. Why have the bodies started decomposing? We have the answers for you here. Stay with us. Welcome back from the break. This is still the Pulse here on the Joy News channel. Now, relatives have been forced to transfer the bodies of their deceased loved ones elsewhere due to ongoing voltage fluctuations affecting the refrigerators at Kolebu Hospital's mortuary. Despite the growing concerns, hospital management is yet to issue a response. Our reporter, Semefa Kwesu, visited the mortuary, and here is what she found.
We've gathered is that for about 3 weeks now, the voltage supply to the refrigerators at the mortuary has been inconsistent due to the increased power consumption in the area. This fluctuation has caused issues with the compressors that are used to preserve the dead bodies. Additionally, technicians responsible for the maintenance on these refrigerators have not been paid for about 6 months now, so they have withdrawn their services. Although the manager of the mortuary has refused to speak on the record, he confirmed that they have issues with their refrigerators and also the place is congested. He, however, added that they have sent information to the hospital's management that they need to work on the situation. We have been speaking to some of the relatives who have dead bodies here, and they have confirmed that they have to do transfer of their relatives to other mortuaries within the municipality.
For barely about 2 quarters now, the refrigerators have not been serviced, and this is creating a lot of inconvenience for the hospital. I personally had a body there of an auntie, and realizing the current situation, we had to transfer the body from the place to a different mortuary. Intelligence further revealed that Nesta, the company responsible for the maintenance of the refrigerator, has not been paid for 2 quarters. So this has been the challenge, and putting the smooth running of the mortuary into a little bit of a challenge.
This year, if you remember, I'm so maybe ha nana pay am dia batumi. And say I feel na omo ye 1 to 1 more people in idea. You watch training my your train say bibia be go through you do train mo dia batu.
See more problem with my machine and I say be a higher congested.
Oh, that be so far the me ba ha no pe dia me ntisi obi a kasa asem no. And I'm assuming you work at Oaha. Just me or maybe ha and pay.
Reporting for Joy News, I am Semefa Besu, Kolebu Mortuary.
Also, Semefa joins me in studio with more on this particular development. Semefa, I'm grateful to you for joining. First off, let's start with what you found.
Right, so we went there, you know, it's a public hospital, so definitely you need permission to carry on with these activities. So we couldn't get a PRO. We learned that he was out on an assignment and he wasn't answering. So we went to the manager of the mortuary and he spoke off record, confirming that they have issues with the refrigerators. The voltage has declined due to the power consumption in the area. That is one. And then the technicians that are supposed to carry out maintenance work on the machines or the refrigerators have not been paid. Now, these are people that need to pay taxes and they need to procure equipment to do the maintenance work. So they've also hurt their services. Okay. Now, he also said that that's not the only thing. The mortuary is congested. So they need to carry out a mass burial in conjunction with the AMA. So they have written to the hospital's management telling them or detailing what exactly is wrong with the refrigerators and then giving them timeline that they need to repair them.
Interesting. So the fluctuation is a problem.
Yeah.
Some of the fridges have broken down and so they have to be repaired, or is the fluctuation issue?
He said that the fridges are working all right.
Okay.
But as long as the voltage is down, it means you cannot have the full operation. So they are on, they are operating all right, but the voltage is low. And that is the major issue right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And since when did it start? Did he confirm to you?
So he didn't confirm, but the relatives confirmed that about 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago.
And it's actually worse on weekends. You know, weekends, relatives go there for these bodies for burial or funeral services and all of that. So it's worse on weekends. And you know, weekends, a lot of people are home. The consumption of electricity goes up. So everybody is using machines and equipment in the various residential houses and all of that, placing pressure on the hospital or the mortuary.
But again, we also heard of postmortems that need to be carried out on bodies that have not been done.
So the question to him was that when you enter the mortuary, the first thing that greets you is the stench. So we asked, people have been complaining that the bodies have started decomposing. Is it true? He said it's not due to the fact that the voltage from the refrigerators are low, but they have bodies that need post-mortem that have not been performed at all. And these bodies, when they are there, they've not been burned, they start decomposing. And then one other thing he mentioned is that you say we have bodies that people that die from accidents, others on the street, and before they bring them in, they've already started decomposing. So these contribute to the stench and not the refrigerator issue.
I mean, there's much more to it because, I mean, we've had these issues in the past, but we understand that this decomposition started 3 weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
So there has to be much more to the issue.
Exactly. Now the issue is that they are not ready to speak on record now. So we've been trying to speak to the hospital's management to get what really is wrong. And also, it looks like the manager has more to this, but because he's not been granted the permission, he doesn't want to speak to it. So we'll keep trying and get response from the hospital's management and, of course, the management of the mortuary itself.
Quite a disturbing issue. So from what you saw, How many families did you see coming for their family members?
You know, today is Wednesday. In the Ghanaian society, normally we go for these bodies on Fridays, so we can carry out the burial on Saturdays. So it's quite low. Those that we met there, interacting with them, they rather brought in bodies to be preserved. And then I think one of the attendants over there, the mortuary attendant, said that because of the Hopper War, there was, a temporary ban on these funeral services and all of that. So if the place will get busy, it will be from next week Friday, and it's mostly on weekends. So if you want to get a proper picture of what is going on, then we need to be there on a weekend.
Describe the stench for us.
Well, you see, I was in a nose mask even when I was doing the stand-up. This is a stench as strong as something that could make you puke if you get there, because you're not used to it. To those over there, maybe they are used to the stench, so it's normal. Even the manager confirmed that, yeah, when you come in, you could, the stench greets you is the first thing. And then, speaking of record, some of the workers also confirmed that the whole mortuary needs a maintenance. They need to carry a renovation, because even their offices leaks when it rains. So he was like, he was even hoping that it rains the day we'll come back there, so that we can get a real picture of what really the situation is.
This is a star performance. Thank you for that. So that's Semafa Pesu there. Richard Kofi Jordan is General Secretary of the Mortuary Workers Association of Ghana, and he joins me now. Richard, I'm grateful to you for joining. How much do you know about this situation at the Kolebu Hospital mortuary?
Well, good afternoon to all our viewers and then the mortuary workers across this country. I think she has just narrated the real situation at the mortuary. Unfortunately, this situation did not start 3 weeks ago. It's been like this for so many years. And I'm happy that at least you are realizing that the mortuary is in the bad shape. Workers will have to go through every 24 hours. It's not an easy thing. You know, these fridges, as we're talking about now, in fact, because of the power, the low power and the high power, the fridges are not able to contain the power. Therefore, it is possible that during the power fluctuations, some of the compressors will go off. And that is exactly what has happened to Kolebu. It did not start now. It has always been happening. The main factor is that the mortuary does not have its own plant. It is a plant that is giving power to Kolebu, they see all over the place. But the mortuary needs to have its own plant to be able to do a changeover immediately. There is a light off, or there's low voltage or high voltage. So the situation currently at Kolebu is not pleasant. It's a bad one. But I believe that when bodies are well preserved and embalmed, there shouldn't be any cause of alarm. Unfortunately, like she said, some bodies are there to be post-mortem. Some of them are babies that you cannot even embalm. Some of them are unidentified bodies that needs identification before you can embalm. So we have a bad situation at Kolebu as we speak. It's not a pleasant one.
But so why the issue with post-mortem? Because we know that when someone dies, it shouldn't take long for the post-mortem to be done. Why is it a problem that is also causing the decomposition?
I don't think it's a problem. What it is that for a post-mortem to be done, it has to be done by a professional who is a pathologist.
Okay.
But if you have a lot of bodies that need to be done, you have few doctors to do it.
Interesting. But again, you talk about,
it will delay. It's not about workers or doctors who have to embalm many bodies, to be able to determine the cause of death of that particular remain. They have to do the post-mortem. And so it's a necessary requirement, which I think per their timetable, they have to go through it. At any point in time, you will still have bodies that need to be post-mortem. So it should happen.
It means we don't have enough pathologists who are helping us out to do the post-mortem.
What I thought, we have less than 40 pathologists in this country.
The whole of Ghana has less than 40 pathologists.
Exactly. And some of them are getting retirement. So, it's an area that many people feel is not important.
Okay.
So you don't want, it's a specialization that needs careful thought, you know. Unfortunately, people think that when you are a pathologist, you only deal with the dead bodies. No.
Okay. But
you deal with pathogens.
You also mentioned the plant. I mean, the mortuary should get its own separate plant. It doesn't have. How long has this situation persisted, and what's management doing about it?
Well, I'm not part of management. Unfortunately, management, I think, has failed us. Consistently, we report these things. Remember, there was a story of how the Kolebu mortuary was, and then it came out, they ran up and down, and that's the end of it. And the most important thing is that we think the management has not been doing well for us at all. I mean, you should not wait until situations like this will crop up before you start running up and down, asking for help from others. I believe the manager has done his part. You know, you take management at the mortuary will always do their part, write a memo to the top. Somebody has to sign it before it comes to force. And I think that is a problem, the top.
Quite a disturbing issue there. So what would really change the situation? Just a plant for the mortuary will change it?
I think with a plant, with immediate acquisition of a plant or separation of some powers and give full plant to the mortuary will solve the situation immediately. Apart from that, well, I wouldn't want to suggest anything. I believe Kolebu management should, as a matter of agency, get a plant solely for the mortuary so they can operate in full capacity.
Okay. What sort of danger are we about to face if the situation persists?
I think it should be a national disaster. It should be a national security issue. There's likely outbreak of an epidemic, which I cannot tell how it will go. But I'm sure that anything that is not good for the workers is not good for the public. You know, we work with the public. People come there to take their dead bodies and they sent alone, you know, the decomposition. We don't know what kind of disease will spread. So it's a public health issue, which has a long potential of creating another pandemic for the country.
How long has Kolebu been in this situation?
As long as I know, so many years. It's just that
unfortunately,
I don't know if it is management in the drainage where water goes in and comes back to the mortuary has been persistent for long. It's been taking years, over 10, 15, 20 years. And I don't see why a mortuary should not have its own plant. You know, in where you are rendering essential services and you have a plant like a mortuary, you know that just for about 3 hours, bodies begin to decompose. Some of the bodies are already decomposed in their homes before brought in. You should have a standby plant. In fact, it's a necessary requirement that you should have your own plant to be able to power and preserve those bodies. Otherwise, I don't know.
All right. I'm grateful to you for joining us this afternoon here on this particular disturbing situation. Let's see how this goes. Now, away from that, Keta, an Asian city, faces an existential environmental crisis as the National Disaster Management Organization warns that 5,000 homes along the coast of Keta could be lost due to the sea within 5 years. If urgent actions are not taken to protect the rapidly eroding shoreline, while Ghana's coastline is projected to witness a significant sea level rise of up to 1 meter by 2000. Environmentalists highlight that Keta's coast is eroding at an African leading rate of 2.2 meters per year due to climate change. In part one of our climate focus, Vanishing Shores, Joy News' Carlos Caloni highlights the devastating impact of the rising ocean levels on the lives and livelihoods of Keta's perplexed residents.
A 2017 World Bank's report, Enhancing Resilience to Climate and Ecosystem Changes in Semi-Arid Africa, highlights that coastal dwellers in Ghana face significant threats from the rising sea levels, projected to increase by 0.3 to 1 meter by 2100. This will lead to increased flooding and coastal erosion, which will jeopardize homes, infrastructure, and livelihoods, particularly in fishing communities where over 2 million people are at risk. Keta is no exception. In 2021, the National Disaster Management Organization reported that 200 plus homes were destroyed by these high tides in the Keta municipality alone, which rendered about 4,000 residents displaced.
We have a lot of the house here still come to spoil, and the summer house too still come to spoil. They have a lot of about 150 house we go on the sea inside.
This is my house, but the sea spoil them. Spoil my canoe, my everything, my 3 bedrooms, everything spoiled. But right now I sleep for outside.
Our front there, they destroyed the house like 7 houses in my front here.
The municipal NADMO director, God knows, Blebu, tells me 2/3 of the main Keta town now has already been swallowed by the sea.
239 houses for now are affected. Some are partially collapsed, some are entirely gone, and those people living in those houses now, some left the town, some are living with their other family members, some are still living in their dilapidated houses because they have no place to go. The main Keta Central, about 2/3, is in the sea. If nothing is being done, I'm afraid about 4,000 or 5,000 houses along the coast here will be gone. In a matter of 5 years to come, all those houses will be gone.
Here is Michael Bumegbe, the chief fisherman of the Keji Copper community. He describes the recurring tidal waves' impact on fishing as disastrous.
2021, In 2021, tidal waves destroyed many things, including 16 boats, fishing gears, and outboard motors. A boat this size cost about 200,000 cedis. This situation is negatively impacting our fishing business as our catch has drastically dwindled.
These fishmongers say the situation is severely hurting their businesses.
Our fishmongering business has become a major challenge. Rising sea levels make it difficult for our husbands to make a good catch. It's a major headache for us. This small piece of fish on the oven costs 80 to 85. It's not up to standard, but that's the current price. When we take it to market, we don't make any profit.
A visit to the Keta Central Market, once teeming with assorted fish, now reveals a hopeless situation. Low fish availability has driven up cost, making affordability a Herculean challenge.
About 5 years ago, this one, the crab that you are seeing here, is just 2 cedis, but now it's 10 cedis. Because the fishermen are saying it's because of the rising sea level. That's why the things are like this, because the sea is destroying a lot of things, their homes and their canoes, so that's why they've increased the price for us.
Apart from fishing, farming is also a major source of livelihood for many residents here in the Keta municipality. However, the rising levels of the sea due to climate change is equally affecting farmers. Mr. Amakuji is one such farmer here in the Keta municipality.
If the climate change or the sea level on high, it will affect us. If you can't plus the bed for us, and then the crop we planted for the bed, the water can spoil it. When we spend a lot of money.
That's the seaside.
At the seaside.
How about the lagoon side?
Lagoon side is also the same thing. The lagoon comes inside the bed. So all the tomatoes and the shallot we plant there, we also blast it.
So the devastating impact of the rising levels of the sea is biting hard on residents here in Keta. Reporting from Keta in the Volta region, my name is Carlos Caloni for Joy News.
Climate Focus is brought to you by Joy News in partnership with Youth Bridge Foundation, bridging gaps for positive youth development, and the Climate Development Knowledge Network.
Well, and as you heard there, Climate Focus is always brought to you by Youth Bridge Foundation and Climate Development Knowledge Network. Now, away from that, the civil society organizations in the WASH sector have vowed to hold political parties accountable, demanding that WASH policies become integral to their manifestos. Now, they are pushing for the creation of a National Sanitation Authority and urging the Ministry of Local Government to take over WASH responsibilities. Meanwhile, political parties are promising to prioritize WASH. Here is a wrap of Joy News' national dialogue on WASH and climate change.
Sanitation and hygiene are critical in Ghana, especially as climate change worsens water scarcity, flooding, and sanitation issues. According to the World Bank, over 20% of Ghanaians lack access to clean drinking water, and more than 15% lack proper sanitation facilities. In the Greater Accra region, significant progress has been made in this sector. Project Coordinator for the Greater Accra Metropolitan Area Sanitation and Water Project, Engineer George Esiedu, explained.
As at now, as he said, we are hovering around, according to the Ghana Statistical Service, 25% of improved sanitation in Ghana from the 15% that we used to know from 2015. Access to water, we are told around 88% thereabout.
Matthias Madsen, representing the Embassy of Denmark, says these gains may not be enough to attain the Sustainable Development Goal 6.
We need the private sector to be engaged in some of the aspects, because even though progress has been made, the data is saying that the SDG 6 in 2030 is still out of reach. So we need to accelerate, we need to disrupt, and that's the reason I'm telling we need to also look out from the WASH sector, we need to learn from other industries.
However, WASH specialist with UNICEF, Samuel Amwaku-Mensah, believes we need to accelerate the process towards universal and sustainable WASH development.
It is therefore important that we look to maintain an institutional arrangement that can continue to drive progress in this area, consolidate the gains made, and also accelerate the achievement of our targets.
The progress made in these areas is threatened by climate change, underscoring the need for resilient systems and adaptive strategies to protect public health and promote sustainable development. With the general elections fast approaching, civil society organizations in the WASH sector have vowed to push political parties to prioritize sanitation, hygiene, and water issues. Professor Basilia is the Executive Secretary of CONUAS.
For last year, didn't show our ministry spending much on climate or the budgeting for it clearly. But with the new innovations coming and the focal person for it, it's hopeful that we're really planning and budgeting for climate, because we can't have climate issues being run like a project.
Farouk Brahma represented the People's Dialogue on Human Settlement.
I feel strongly the challenge is a water WASH governance problem.
Harold Eseku is the Senior Sanitation Specialist at World Bank.
So we would like to urge our political parties, as we prepare and as we plan, on the side of the development partners, that let's make this an integral part of what we do.
At the dialogue, some political parties presented their vision for the WASH sector. The NPP, represented by the former chief executive of the Environmental Protection Agency, Engineer Kwabena Kokofu, says they are looking to increase funding to the WASH sector to push their gains.
There is a need to increase public spending on sustainable WASH delivery. And how do you do that, given the constraints in the public purse? there is an opportunity to reduce economic impact on poor sanitation. Ghana loses $290 million annually. That is $12 per person per year, representing 1.6% of GDP. So if you're able to improve upon sanitation, you're going to save most of this amount or these monies.
The NDC says they will make sure to complete all outstanding projects and increase rural access to wash facilities. Dr. Peter Otukono represented them.
And when we assumed power in 2009, the total urban water supply coverage was around 56.5%. And we have had to invest heavily through several programs and projects to extend rural water supply. And as at the time we were leaving power, it was around 75.6% of rural water coverage. And I believe that is also a significant leap. And if our friends had continued, perhaps we would have made some significant improvement. We must put together systems to deal with that. And that was what we did under President Mahama. So we didn't only distribute the beans, we were able to improve the collection of the waste.
The Movement for Change, which is a relatively new political actor, is talking tough. They are seeking to end illegal mining, which has led to the destruction of water bodies nationwide. Courage Nobi is the Deputy Director of Policy.
Within 2 years, Alan Trematin promises to eliminate galamsey from Ghana. The law that was passed in 2022, LI 2462, that allows mining in forest reserves will be revoked.
But the CSOs have demands of their own. Head of Strategy, Policy and Campaign at Water Aid in Ghana, Ibrahim Musa says they are pushing for a national sanitation authority. He explained why.
We have advocated for the National Sanitation Authority below the national level. Ministry of Sanitation is the policy arm. If we were to have below National Sanitation Authority, just like many state agencies has authority, then that authority can have very clear defined relationship with institutions such as Institute of Engineers and what have you, and work closely with local government ministry to ensure that all the good intentions of coordination are promoted for effective and sustainable service delivery.
The coalition of NGOs in water and sanitation is asking for direct policies that specifically tackle sanitation. Professor Basilia is the Executive Secretary of CONIWAS.
We need that overarching regulations. We need policy direct to break down the policy implementation. Something that will bridge, just like CWSA is bridging between district assemblies and the community in water delivery. We need that kind of bridge between our local government ministry and the sanitation to ensure that there is effective service delivery at the local level.
CEO of the People's Dialogue on Human Settlement, Farouk Brahma says they will push against any attempt to split the sanitation and water ministry.
And during the emergencies, any of you who worked during the COVID, you would begin to appreciate why it should be in the local governance. And so my personal one is that, look, irrespective of the need, we want to remain together. The water and sanitation must be prioritized. Every government that comes in must demonstrate how you're going to support this sector to work.
The CSOs have the backing of former Executive Director of the Ghana Institution of Engineering, Engineer Kwabena Ejei Ejapon.
So there can never be a separation of water and sanitation and hygiene. It goes together. I am very radical in my thinking. I believe in lean government, and I've said this before. I never understood why the ministry should be a standalone.
Meanwhile, the Executive Secretary of the Environmental Protection Agency, Dr. John Kingsley Krugu, announced that Parliament might soon elevate the agency to an authority status with their new bill currently under consideration.
And I think the EPA, as you rightly said, the plan is being reviewed. And you know that the EPA has taken the steps to put this climate change education in the school curriculum, for example.
Development partners such as the World Bank have pledged to support Ghana regardless of which political party takes power after January 7.
As we know, water is life, sanitation is dignity. We want to urge, as development partners, we support the government of Ghana. We have been supporting the government of Ghana before the Fourth Republic, through the Fourth Republic, through NDC, through MPP, through NDC, and back to MPP. And come 7th January 2025, whichever government is in power, we will continue to support, but would like to urge all the political parties to ensure that what they want to do, they should look beyond, not just today, but let's look into the future.
For Joy News, Michael Ashale.
And let the discussion about WASH and climate change continue wherever you are. Now, away from that, the Ghana School of Law has been referred to the Attorney General for prosecution breaches. The school was cited by the Auditor General for breaching the Procurement Act in the purchase of items worth over 300,000 cedis between 2021 and 2022. First, listen to the school's justification for going ahead with the procurement process without recourse to the law. I'll bring you details of that report later, but let me bring in my colleague James Kwesi-Aveji, who is currently at the Public Accounts Committee, to bring us more details on this particular development. Now, Kwesi, let's start with details of this procurement. How many entities are involved?
Right, so in all, 17 entities have been engaged between the year under review, which is 2021 and 2022. And the business, the Ghana School of Law, did with the ranges between the procurement of toiletries, the payment of hotel accommodation for some members, as well as the procurement of chairs, tables, and other items within 2 years under review. Now, the amount involved per entity ranged between, some went as low as 30,750 Ghana cedis, and others go as high as 92,000 Ghana cedis. Now, in the explanation given by the school authorities, they believe that since some of the items are not up to some 5,000 Ghana cedis, which the procurement law actually indicates that any procurement that is above Section 92 of the Public Procurement Act states that any procurement that is above some 5,000 Ghana cedis need to go through competitive tendering. But the school actually used sole sourcing to actually procure these items, which became the bone of contention. In fact, members of the committee, especially MP Frida Prempeh, who raised the issue, actually wasn't so happy with the fact that the institution we are talking about is the Ghana School of Law. People who teaches the law are supposed to make sure that the law is enforced. Breaching provision. And so she wasn't happy with that, as well as other members of the Public Accounts Committee were not happy with that. They make the school actually make the point that this is their first breach. In the subsequent years after the auditors actually flagged this, they have been going according to the provisions of the Procurement Act, and so pleaded with the committee to actually forgive them and give them another chance to do the right thing.
Well, the matter was then referred to the chairman of the committee. What was his reaction?
Chairman equally wasn't happy. After the plea bargaining, I'll call it, between the school as well as led by the Director General of the Ghana School of Law, Professor, between him and the team and the Public Accounts Committee member, the chairman, together with his ranking member, will not take that. They say that, in fact, they have referred some cases that are less severe than what they have done to the Auditor General, and so there should be no exception to that. Therefore, moving ahead to refer them to the Attorney General. In fact, the Deputy Attorney General, Afrejai, was sitting right beside the director of the Ghana School of Law, when all of this is ongoing. And you could read from his book that he agrees with the Public Accounts Committee, especially when the chairman asked the question as to whether they have breached the law and insisted that the law has been breached, and so the right thing must be done. You see Afrechia nodding his head to the fact that, yes, the law has been breached and the right thing must be done. Then the chairman actually referred them to AG to prosecute them for that procurement breach. It could be a fine from the court. It could some term of prison if they fail to pay the fine. Those are the prescriptions of the law on such cases.
We couldn't at the time.
So you are at fault. You have flouted the law.
Yes, we will admit.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
You admit because you have flouted the law and you have admitted, so we'll recommend you for prosecution.
Well, to err is human.
You know, you are the lawyers. We here, me, I'm an accountant. I'm not a lawyer. But the lawyers here will agree with me that this committee, even though when we sit at the High Court, we don't have that power to do what you're asking us to do. There's a body that is a court that might determine, the judges will determine that, oh, the plea you are giving will forgive you. So what we can do is to refer you to the court, that the court will set you free, because we don't have that power to do it. We don't have that power here to do it. We can only recommend you, then the one that has the power will say, listening to your plea, go home free and don't go and do it again.
Mr. Chairman, I think while sitting here, I have seen that you have given other people the opportunity to go and put their house in order. So you actually have the power. In order that...
those ones that I have given, the Auditor General did not specifically refer me to a law which must be applied. Right. Do you understand? We do. This is what the Auditor General said. Section 92 of Act 663 as amended should be applied. Right. And there, maximum 2,500 penalty units, maximum 5 years or to both. That is what the judge will apply. The judge will look at you and say, well, go home free, or pay only 1,000 penalty units, or go and sit and sound for 6 months. They will determine that. We will not do that. We have never done that.
Right, we stand corrected.
Yes. So we'll recommend you. Judge, clerk, take note. Okay.
Well, Aveji, we have also been getting some reaction from the Deputy Attorney General on the minority's position on one of the vetted justices to the Supreme Court. Tell us more about that.
Yes. So yesterday during the vetting, the minority actually took a position on the matter that, Justice Professor Opon actually has dual citizenship. He's a citizen of Canada as well as Ghana, and they took the position that he needed to renounce his citizenship as a Canadian before they would, approve his appointment. Other than that, they would have to oppose it. This is what I put to the AG, and he's of the view that there's been a ruling earlier this year, somewhere April, on this matter, allowing, judges to hold dual citizenship and still proceed over matters in Ghana's courts. That ruling actually banned at public office holders, including members of parliament. We know about the justice question issue and all of that. But the AG believes that as far as this issue is concerned, looking at the ruling that the Supreme Court did, April this year, Professor Opon is fit to take a seat at the Supreme Court as a judge, looking at that judge.
Yeah, that under our laws, you can be a dual citizen but still be a justice of the Supreme Court. At the Supreme Court in April this year, delivered a judgment to that effect. So the nominee who came yesterday is qualified under our laws, notwithstanding the fact that he holds a Canadian citizenship. But for the judgment in April, he wouldn't have qualified to be a Supreme Court judge in Ghana.
There are still those who hold the view that the Supreme Court actually did this in anticipation of the fact that there may be an appointment of this nature in the near future.
I have no evidence to that effect. It may be by mere coincidence, and people may conjecture, but there's no evidence to that effect. So let's leave it for now.
What do you say to people who say that it will not be fair to make members of the judiciary have dual citizenship to sit at the court, but members of the legislature do not have a similar?
Then we have to look at our laws once again. If as a people we think that judges must also not hold dual citizenship, then the law, you know, there was an existing law, that judgment has struck down that piece of legislation. So if we think we want to open it up for others to come into the fray, let's look at it. As far as I'm concerned, the status quo now is that if you are a dual citizen, you cannot sit in the House of Parliament as an MP. Until that provision is amended or repealed, we should go by that. And also that if you are a dual citizen now and you want to be a Supreme Court judge, you are permitted to do so until and unless you repeal or something is done to that effect.
Part of your job is to ensure justice. Do the people of the legislature accept justice when they cannot hold dual citizenship and be in parliament?
Justice is about due process. Justice is about adherence to the laws. What laws are you talking about? There's a judgment to the effect that if you hold it, you can be a judge. So that's justice.
Country, if you follow his conversation, he hasn't prosecuted a case in Ghana before, he hasn't practiced in Ghana before as a lawyer. Was the guarantee that he would do due justice to issues that come to him from the Ghanaian jurisdiction?
Yes, yesterday you listened to him, you watched him. An excellent professor. He knows his stuff. In fact, we're in the law school together, even though he's 1 year behind me, and I know his worth. In terms of his ability to deliver as a judge, I can assure you, he has every quality that any judge should possess in the dispensation of justice, and I trust him that you do his job as a judge.
But I'm sure prosecution differs from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. If he hasn't had full knowledge about what we do here, will he be in position to deliver?
Fortunately, he is based in Canada, right? Canada is a common law jurisdiction. And so those of us who are called to the bar in Ghana, that's why we can appear or we can go to other countries. If you even want to practice, you go to some process that you can practice because we use similar procedure and similar laws. So there's nothing untoward about his knowledge when it comes to how he's able to do his cases in Ghana as a judge. Because whether in Canada, whether in UK, whether in South Africa, whether in Nigeria, Gambia, we use the same procedure. So there isn't anything much about it.
The College of Education with of the University of Ghana is organizing what they call the Pen Ceremony to honor and celebrate the achievement of 4 faculty members who have been promoted to the rank of associate professors between 2022 and 2024. And we are here with a member of the planning committee and also an awardee to have a chat about this particular ceremony. I have with me here in the studio Reverend Sister Dr. Florence Awuniyi. She is a senior lecturer of the Department of Teacher Education, University of Ghana, and she is a member of the Pen Ceremony Planning Committee. Doc, thank you for coming.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Also with me in the studio, Professor Isaac Kofi Baini. He is head of Department, University of Ghana Learning Centers, and he is an awardee. And interestingly, I get to realize that this man is a Pepesa man from Dompem, Pepesa in the Western region. Prof, nice to have you here.
Thank you.
We'll blend our own language at a point. Okay. But let me start with you, Reverend Sister Doc. What's the point behind this particular ceremony?
Actually, the College of Education of the University of Ghana, as part of its strategic objectives, aspires to celebrate the staff and faculty who bring honor to the College of Education of the University of Ghana. And this honor they bring is through scholarship, through teaching, innovation, through professional and institutional service, through exemplary contribution they made by engaging actively in community development.
Okay.
So as part of it, we to be able to do that, against that backdrop, the college has insisted an annual pen ceremony, starting from this very one that is taking place tomorrow, to acknowledge and celebrate this individual who have contributed to the development of the College of Education in particular and the university as a whole.
Okay.
Yes.
So if you say community development, are you looking at the University of Ghana as a community, or it goes beyond the
It
four
goes
walls of the
beyond that,
university?
because the university is an international community.
Okay.
And we engage the people in the society within and outside the shore of this country, Ghana.
Okay.
So there are threefold to this pen ceremony. One is firstly to commemorate these individual achievements and contributions that they have made, so that others can emulate them. Because to reach the rank or to achieve that level, it didn't come on a platter of gold. You can just imagine. So we are celebrating them because they have been promoted to associate professor. Then secondly, to also encourage and inspire other faculty so that they can also strive to climb that academic ladder. As I'm here now, looking at what is being done for them, I'm inspired, I'm motivated, and I'm encouraged. The third thing, which is the final thing, is also to introduce and encourage our students so that they begin to think of taking up careers in academia. So it's just a way of, so it's all embracing the entire community, the students, the staff, as well as faculty are encouraged and motivated through this pen ceremony. And it's the first of its kind at the University of Ghana.
All right.
And I may not be too far from the fact that it is for the entire, yes, there is, is on, at the level of the entire country. I've not heard pen ceremony celebrated in this country before. So it's possible it happened somewhere, but not to my knowledge. And I've asked a few colleagues, and they said this is the first. So we are pace setters.
But really, pen ceremony, what is, because once you're saying is that it might be the first, what really is it?
Pen is a symbol of scholarly achievement. It's a symbol of academic excellence. You must have heard of the saying that pen is mightier than sword. What does it mean? It means that pen, there is this belief that it is very powerful because of the written word that comes out of the pen. And by extension, if the written word is mightier, then it means the pen that put it down also must be very mighty. And it means it has the power to influence thoughts and actions better and more effectively than violence or force. So that is the importance of pen. So pen is very, very important. Yes.
All right. Let me bring in Professor Isaac Kofi Bryan here. Prof, what's the force that drives you to keep achieving the way? And let's start first of all, what this award really mean to you as a person?
Yes, certainly. Thank you for your question. Honestly, to be in academia and to make your mark and make a niche, it means therefore that you need to do a lot of sacrifices. Work beyond yourself. Even over the weekends, you must plan your activity, ensure you have some paper to deliver. So it's an honor to me. It tells me that when you put your mind on something, when you work hard, that's plain hard work, it has its own results. It comes along with sources. So that's what I would say for now. So it's all about hard work. It's all about determination and commitment. Being focused on what really you want to achieve. Yeah, there are a number of faculty members. Some are bent on ensuring getting to the apex, getting to the rank of a full professor. But start from somewhere. Like Reverend Doctor stated, from senior lecturer to associate professor, sometimes it takes hard work, grit, and perseverance, persistence, and endurance to get to that level. Without commitment, without hard work, very difficult making it to that level. So if people try, faculty transition from that of senior lecturer to associate professor, I think
Well, apologies for the hitches there, but the ceremony is happening today to honor some 4 professors of the College of Education, University of Ghana, who have excelled and been promoted to the rank of associate professor. The purpose of this is to encourage more of the faculty of the university and all staff of the college to keep doing their best. This has been our package for you today. There is more on myjoyonline.com now. On that portal now, it says, I have questions to answer on, okay, so it says, questions to answer on Dache Bond, Mahama to Opoku Prempe. So it says, you have questions to answer on Dache Bond, Mahama to Opoku Prempe. And also, Akufo-Addo dreamt about me, Mahama on president's slip of the tongue, and inflation for July tumbled to 20.9%. So those are some of the stories on myjoyonline.com. On behalf of the team, I say thank you very much for being, part of us. I'll leave you in the hands of LTS until we meet again, God willing, tomorrow on the same show. Please be good.
That's the only place I see you.